President Donald Trump, is he really fit or is he just fat? In this second episode of the series, we're going to dive into his medical records and see what we can learn about the actual real health of the president. Tune in and take notes.
Welcome to the CrossFit Edwardsville Community Podcast, where we hear and learn from our coaches, CrossFitters, and Glen Ed community leaders. Now, here are your hosts, Dallas and Greg.
So there can be absolutely no doubt that President Trump right now is like the guy in the news all the time. Ever since being elected back to the presidency, he is all over the place all of the time. And in this second episode of the series, we're going to investigate his level of physical fitness. In the first episode, we talked about what we could casually observe from the outside. In this second episode, we'll actually dive into the medical record and see what we can learn about the publicly released medical records of Donald Trump. So let's get into it. And all of this is relevant also because Donald Trump at age 78 is the oldest person to ever become president of the United States. And your physical fitness, your physical health is one of the things that dictates how effective you can be in any arena of life. So it matters. It also dictates your longevity and your not just your physical abilities, but also your cognitive abilities, your mental abilities. Literally, like your level of competence in any job is at least partly a function of your health and your physical fitness. So we did some subjective casual observation in the first episode. As we look to now the quantifiables, the objective data of his medical assessments, we have data from 2015, 2018, and 2019, and then some updates in 2023. And I'll kind of dive into what we've learned from those in this episode. So back in 2015, Donald Trump's personal physician, Dr. Harold Bornstein, issued a letter stating that Trump had extraordinary physical strength and stamina. However, I find it funny to note that later, that same doctor actually revealed that Donald Trump had dictated his own physical fitness letter, and it was signed by Bornstein. So we may have to take that with a grain of salt. In 2018, White House physician Dr. Ronnie Jackson did a complete medical workup and expressed that Trump was in excellent health, despite having some negative metrics that I'll dive into in a moment here. And then in 2019, Dr. Sean Conley, another White House physician, described Trump's health as very good overall. Asterisk, there are some major red flags in there as well, which I'll further reinforce in just a moment. So we have the most detail based on the 2018 health assessment. And Time Magazine actually did a whole article where they included Dr. Ronnie Jackson's complete medical notes. And we have actual data here, which I'll get into now. So President Trump, what can we learn from his medical records? As of today, he's 78. When this particular medical assessment was done, he was a little bit shy of 72 years old. Height, 75 inches, that's 6'3". Weight, 239 pounds, which if you're looking at height to weight ratio, this is not good. That is clinically obese. That is significantly overweight with a lot of extra body fat hanging out there. And that is actually the physique the president has. He is obviously obese, and it's not good. So that is a negative check in his health. His resting heart rate is 68, which actually not too terribly bad, not great. It's obviously not a distance runner, cardio athlete, low resting heart rate, but really not too bad either. This next point, blood pressure, is reportedly 122/74. If you know the standard or historical, I guess, benchmark of what is optimal blood pressure, 120/80 has historically been considered to be ideal blood pressure. President Trump being at 122/74 is actually really impressive. And for the record, like that is almost identical to what my blood pressure is right now. I'm literally half his age and probably twice his level of fitness. He's sporting the same blood pressure. Given the stress that he must be under, given his role, the constant demands on his time, and like the world changing consequences of the stuff he has to do every single day, like having blood pressure of 122/74 is actually really impressive, really impressive. Pulse oximetry numbers are how well saturated is your blood with oxygen. It is one measure of internal oxygen efficiency. His 99% pulse ox on room air. That is very good. That's a very good number. His temperature was 98.4, 98.6 considered normal. So this is also a positive sign in terms of his temperature. His visual acuity uncorrected was 20/30. Pretty good, pretty darn good. Visual fields normal, etc. Head, ears, nose, throat, normal exam. No unremarkable findings. Same for his neck and thyroid exam. Auscultation, which is a fancy medical word for listening. Like, what do you observe by listening? Probably through stethoscope. Carotid arteries, normal. Pulmonary exam, lungs also clear to auscultation. No pulmonary pathology was observed. So in terms of like his internals, his lungs, his neck, we're seeing good things. Next is his cardiac exam. His heart exam reportedly was normal with a regular rhythm, no murmurs, no abnormal heart sounds. Sinus rhythm with a rate of 71, normal axis, no other significant findings. This is a very positive cardiac exam. I had heard that he had a history of heart disease. It's clearly not reinforced by these findings here. My understanding is there's also a family history of heart disease in his family. I could be wrong about that, but if that is the case, these findings at least do not reinforce any signs of cardiac trouble. He had an exercise stress echocardiogram done with, quote, above average exercise capacity based on age and sex, with a normal heart rate, blood pressure, and cardiac output response to exercise. Now, this is very like positive sounding, fancy language to say he does better than average in terms of exercise capacity, which I totally believe, given that, I mean, most 78-year-olds are not out there living the active life that this guy is. So not a surprise to hear that. GI exam, nothing abnormal. Genitourinary examination was normal as well. Here's an interesting one. He had the Montreal Cognitive Assessment done, it is one test, a standardized test for mental acuity. He scored 30/30 according to this Dr. Jackson, which suggests that he's still sharp as a tack, that his mental faculties are all dialed in. And that's encouraging. His dermatologic exam, his skin exam, was also normal, which is interesting given that we do know that he takes, I think he has some sort of medication. Let me see what my notes said, to address a skin condition. Let's see if I can find my notes on it here. Here we go. He takes livermectin cream, the appropriate name, Soolantra, for treating rosacea. So this is a skin cream that he takes. He also does take finasteride, which is better known as Propecia, for male pattern hair loss, aspirin for cardiac health, and Crestor for elevated cholesterol levels. Why? Because his cholesterol is too damn high. He has a total cholesterol of 223, triglycerides 129, HDL of 67. So these are not great numbers according to standard benchmarks, which might be indicative of some consequence of his fast food addictions. Overall, like the lipid panel isn't screaming amazing health. And that's probably why he's on Crestor, to keep his cholesterol levels low. He also has an extended metabolic panel here. Fasting blood glucose 89. That's good. That's pretty impressive. Blood urea nitrate 19. Not bad. This is a metric of like his kidneys processing and production, I believe, of nitrate. Creatinine 0.98. Overall, like your analysis had no evidence of protein, ketones, glucose, or blood. Metabolic panel overall, pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. This report from 2018, again, references his high blood cholesterol, his rosacea here. A definite thing in his favor is that he has no past or present use of alcohol and no past or present use of tobacco. And he has multiple times spoken about this. He doesn't drink anything. He doesn't smoke anything. And that's definitely going to help him maintain more health into his later years. So major props to the president for staying off of the drink and the smoke. So looking at these medical findings, we see that there are some pros, there are some cons. He has a lot of data that suggests he's in great physical health. And then also some red flags with cholesterol, some red flags with some of the other things we discussed in this podcast. But overall, the data would suggest a definitely above average level of health for somebody in his age bracket at age 78. That's our little recap of part 2, the medical record. In part 3, we'll do a little bit deeper dive into the diet of President Trump and what we can learn about his health there. For now, thank you for the gift of your time and your attention. We'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to my dad's podcast. For more useful tools and guidance, go to CrossFitEdwardsville.com and feel free to like, share, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comment sections down below. See you in the next episode.